Thanks for joining us for our Week 13 review episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back, myself and Byron, this week as Joe's living it up in Viva Las Vegas. It was one hell of a week, some huge games, and we're here to review all the key action. We'll talk through our FourFold challenge where we had yet another winner. Byron cashing in another FourFold. That's our 9th on the season and Byron's 3rd in 4 weeks. Pretty profitable week betting, so we'll touch on that and share where we made some money, as well as going through our winners and losers for the week and a preview of Thursday night football. Patriots Steelers, which should be a good one. And we'll check in on the Fantasy Gameday winning lineup as well, because it was another fantastic week for Gurmeet and the guys. And yeah, we've had another couple of £100 winners. So a lot to go through. Byron, welcome. Just us two this week. Joe's either making or losing a fortune on the tables in Vegas.
Yeah, I haven't had much for him, so I'm guessing more the latter maybe. But hopefully he's winning a ton and he can retire early.
We'll see. He might come back very dishevelled next week after his trip.
I'm expecting it.
Yeah, I guess either way. But a heck of a week. And before we get into it, just don't forget to go give us a follow on our Spotify, Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. Over on there, follow. You'll be notified for new episodes when they drop, which is usually on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Also follow us on our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter and X, and TikTok accounts, because there's lots going on across all the platforms, all at GTW_GTC. We're going to start this week's review by looking at by far and away the biggest game of the week. Turned out possibly to be the biggest result of the week as well. The San Francisco 49ers strolled into Philadelphia and put a beat down on the Philadelphia Eagles, 42-19. Yeah, I didn't see this one coming quite as easy as it did for the Niners. I think I'd turned later in the week, so I was on a show on Sunday, and by the time it got to Sunday afternoon, I was just convinced the Niners were going to win this game. When we recorded on Wednesday, I was like, Eagles as underdogs? But yeah, I was convinced come Sunday afternoon that the Niners were going to win, and luckily made a bit of money back on the week betting on the Niners. But yeah, outside of that first quarter, where it looks like it might be a struggle, everything clicked and the Niners ran out easy winners. It felt like they might have gone a bit easy on them at the end as well.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised when you said you're opening with the biggest game of the week. I thought we were going Chargers Patriots, but this was an okay one as well.
Oh, we'll get to that.
I'm sure we will. Yeah, the first quarter was a little concerning because it felt like the Niners couldn't get moving, and thankfully the defense kind of, that classic bend don't break. There was a great pass breakup by Tre'Davious Ward. Can't remember who the receiver was. I think it was Devonta Smith in the end zone that could have again helped Philly get further ahead. And you don't want to play from behind against Philly, really. But a one score, even after a quarter, is no problem to this Kyle Shanahan passing attack, this rushing attack. Is no problem at all. Obviously, Deebo Samuel, the unquestioned star of the game, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns on 1 air yard.
Yeah, it's wild stat, yeah.
Just, I think when the Niners had their mini crisis, the last 3 games in a row, they had Deebo out, they had Trent Williams out. I don't really know which is the more important one, but there's certain weeks where it's really easy to see Deebo's impact, I guess, more than Trent Williams, even though they're both hugely impactful. And weeks like this would just... It's really a joy to watch Deebo play football because he really feels like a throwback to just give him the ball anywhere and he'll make the best of it. Between him and McCaffrey, you've kind of got almost clones. And I don't envy any defensive coordinator trying to slow that down. And, Brock Purdy, I think if Brock Purdy went in the first round, it'd be, regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, truthfully. He's not perfect, but games like this, it's really hard to see the obvious flaws. It's hard to see how he went in the 7th round. I know he has a really perfect scenario around him, but his passing rating in the link on Sunday was higher than any passing rating Jalen Hurts had in his career. I know Jalen Hurts has more to his game than passing, but he's a quarterback. He's not a running back. So I can't really say enough great things about the Niners' performance. They just, as we kind of touched on our preview, it felt like Niners, if they're going to come in and win this game, they're going to come in and bully the Eagles on both sides of the line. And they really did it. I don't know if it was, I think the ejection was probably fair enough, but only because both got ejected. The security guy and the Niners defensive player. If just the Niners player got ejected, I think it would have been unfair. The security guy shouldn't be there, and he shouldn't be putting his hands in people's faces. But you shouldn't be punching anybody in the face on the sideline or on the field. Let's be fair, because I mean, Isaiah Pacheco got thrown out for punching someone on the field as well. Like, you just shouldn't be throwing a fist. And I think he realized immediately, because he then started pointing with his finger, but he'd already, and it wasn't like he swung a haymaker, but
there's a little jab on it, a little.
Yeah, and I think he immediately regretted it, and I think he kind of knew what was coming. But thankfully, it didn't impact the game. The Eagles don't even get to cry about officiating as much as they have done in the Super Bowl past.
They tried. I don't know if you'd seen it around. I can't remember which one of Debo's touchdowns where he just ran through the entirety of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. But one of them, there was screaming for a holding, and it was, and it probably should have been pulled back. But Eagles are just as guilty of it at times, and ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. So
and I forget which Debo touchdown it was. To be honest, it might have been the last one. And George Kittle was kind of marshalling down the field, and Kittle at the end was blocking two Eagles defenders.
Oh, it was the first one, yeah.
Oh, that was the first one. Sorry, yeah. It's flown by, but it kind of felt like Kittle was holding both of them. But I kind of think if you can hold two players at once, keep your flag, because he's not an elite left tackle. He's a tight end as well. Like, he's not just some mauling left tackle. This guy's one of the best tight ends receiving as well as blocking. Like, if he can block two players and he has to have a little hole to do it, keep that flag in the pocket and just admire a great play.
Yeah, incredible job by the Niners. Like I say, that first quarter, I was worried, but like I said, the Eagles didn't take advantage.
Yeah.
And sort of said before that, Philadelphia maybe have been flying by the seat of the pants a little bit for the last few weeks. Could have easily lost all those games against the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, but they didn't, and that's credit to them. And it's not to diminish them winning those games, because they found a way to win. But it just felt if the Niners were going to get the same opportunities as those teams got against the Eagles, and the Niners would punish them, and they did, and they kept on punishing them all night long. Two touchdowns in the second, third, and fourth quarter. Ultimately, scored six touchdowns on this Philadelphia Eagles defense, which isn't a bad defense at all, but we've seen a bit of a weakness in the run game recently. The Chiefs ran all over them. The Cowboys kind of did, and may do again next week. And the Niners certainly did, with a mixture of McCaffrey and at times Samuel. But real impressive performance. Any doubt that the Niners are the number one team in the NFC?
No. The only thing that can come for them is injuries. Like right now, and it's funny, there's been a lot of it from Cowboys Twitter, and we were both enjoying it on Sunday, obviously hugely, because it puts the Cowboys back in the race for the division. But all it really means, not all it means, because I picked Dallas to win the Super Bowl at the start of the season. I still think they can. I think Dallas are an incredibly well-rounded team, but it kind of feels like 2 days after the event, being like, okay, so we're just celebrating. We'll get to go into Candlestick and get our asses whooped rather than going into the Link. But hopefully not. Obviously, I'd rather. If I have to lose to one, I'd rather lose to the Niners. But I just love seeing Philadelphia get knocked off the pedestal a little bit. They've had it. Everything's gone their way for 2 years. That it's overdue.
Yeah, I think the Niners now should be a pretty comfortable run to the number one seed. I think from there, obviously, they've got the tiebreaker over the Niners and the Eagles. I say comfortable. They're still relying on the Eagles losing another game, which you think that they will do, and that may come next week on the road in Dallas, but we'll see. But you're relying, I suppose, on the Eagles losing another game. But you'd expect the Niners to win out. They've got the Ravens, but it's in San Francisco. Yeah. So, I think you're probably looking there that the Niners get to 14-3, which is finishing the season with 9 straight wins after getting beat by the Bengals in week 8.
Yeah, and the Ravens obviously are a really good team. They're playing for the number one seed themselves. But there isn't a team in the NFL that I would have the Niners as underdogs against, home or away. There just isn't.
I think that's gone to show now. So the Niners are now favourites to win the Super Bowl, 3-1 favourites, plus 300 to win the Super Bowl. And also Brock Purdy's MVP is dropped right down. We were talking about it in Adler yesterday. So depending who you follow, we've obviously got Bet365 is who we use. Dak Prescott's the favourite at plus 300. But Brock Purdy's coming at plus 350 along with Jalen Hurts. But I think that's a MVP type performance from Brock Purdy.
Absolutely.
And he's putting them together now. He's having great game after great game after great game. And I'd fully expect that price to drop should the Niners, as expected, or as I'm expecting, go on and get the number one seed again. We talked about in the preview that from the Cowboys perspective, we need Niners favor. Well, the Niners now need a favor from us, from the Dallas Cowboys, because if they can get level with Philadelphia, then they've got the tiebreaker. So yeah, real interesting one down the stretch. Where does this leave Philadelphia? Because this wasn't just a loss at home. They got shellacked at home. This was an ass kicking.
I think realistically it leaves them, I think they're kind of in a good spot, like kind of spiritually, psychologically, because they get another big game on Sunday. Like, I don't think you want to lose a big game and then you have to play, the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Giants, who are their, I think, two of their last three that they have to play. You want to get another big game in quickly and put yourself right quickly. If they lose to the Cowboys, that's when I think the real questions of where are the Eagles now? Because I think if they win against Dallas on Sunday, then you say, well, the Eagles are still one of the best two teams in the NFC. And they're probably going to get home field advantage through the playoffs, because if they can beat Dallas, then they're probably going to beat the Seahawks. They're probably going to beat the Giants, and they're probably going to beat the Eagles. If they lose to Dallas, I think that's when you kind of get the questions of, can Seattle come and shock them? Or it's much more a playoff question at that point, because they'll beat the Giants, they'll beat the Cardinals almost certainly, regardless. I think it's just a real test of character. And a test of a lot of, there's been questions around Brian Johnson, the OC, for a lot of the season of not getting the maximum out of the players. I know AJ Brown had his streak earlier in the season, but I don't think many people would argue that the Eagles' offense has improved from last year as much as Jalen Hurts is now the MVP. Well, he's not now, but going into Sunday as the MVP favorite. I just think the Eagles need to. It's a big put-up game for them on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it is big. And if they lost back-to-back games, like you say, the noise, and there just always seems to be a noise around Philadelphia. It doesn't kind of matter how good they are.
Yeah.
They're kind of never happy. So, yeah, it's interesting. Jalen Hurts came out injured was evaluated for a possible concussion. He's been banged up for weeks and weeks and weeks. How big a worry is that, I suppose, for Philadelphia when you kind of got a couple of big games here to try and get this division NFC East title sealed?
Yeah, I think I said it in the preview last week of it feels the Eagles more than any of the other NFC teams need a bye week. And there isn't one coming, unless they do win out, essentially, because I think the Niners are going to win out. If Jalen Hurts goes down, the season's done as well. Marcus Mariota is not Nick Foles. And I mean Nick Foles of the glory years, getting a statue, etc., the underdog story. And I mean, to be fair, we won't say Nick Foles was that going into that end of season, I must be honest, obviously. But Marcus Mariota last year was a sub-Desmond Ridder quarterback. I find it hard to believe he's got much better. He didn't have any action this week to judge him on. But with how limited the Eagles' offense has been, despite performing well, I just don't think you can plug anyone but Jalen Hurts in there and hope for huge success.
Hurts did come back into the game, so he cleared obviously the evaluation of the concussion. But yeah, it's interesting, and it just felt like the Eagles just had no answer defensively. Absolutely no answer. They couldn't stop a thing, and there were some very, very critical of the secondary's performance in analyst circles and on shows. They built like that, just not being particularly physical enough. You're going to get in that battle, and you've got teams that just nobody wanted to put a hit on anybody to try and slow them down. So it's interesting. This is a 10-2 team that we're talking about.
Yeah. And to be fair, a lot of this was being said when they were 10-1 of concerns going, into it. But I think that's kind of the rub of the green when you seem to squeak by a lot of the games. It doesn't feel like Philly have dominated for a little while now. It does feel like they've been getting by with wins, which is a great trait, obviously. But, when the rubber meets the road and you play a real tough team, well, you might get beat 42-19 in your own building. And I don't think the addition of Shaq Leonard is going to... I mean, you're not getting a game-changing free agent in Christmas, December. It doesn't happen. it could be a useful role player, certainly. It can be a starter, it can be an addition. But if he was a player that was going to transform the Eagles' defense, he wouldn't have been available.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point in the year, the Eagles then have to be underdogs at home or road dogs going into the Sunday night football game against Dallas, plus 3.5 at the minute. That could go out. Cowboys are hot at home, 14 straight home wins, looking for 15 straight and looking to get, looking to be right back in the race for the NFC Eastern home playoff game. So yeah, be interesting. We'll talk about that in our preview that we record tomorrow. Just like I was expecting it to be a real good close game. I thought it was going to be like a field goal type game, but I think the Eagles the Niners have just gone away, and I think what's gone is gone. But I think there's taking any doubt that if Brock Purdy had been fit in January, that they'd have beat the Eagles, and it would have been San Francisco that had been in the Super Bowl, not the Eagles.
Yeah, it's hard to say otherwise, really, when this is the body of work that got put up.
It wasn't close. It wasn't really close at any point.
No, and once, we talked about the first quarter, it was all Eagles. They were 6-0 up. It wasn't 14-0, thankfully. But from that point on, every drive the Niners had either ended the game or was a touchdown. You don't do that that doesn't come easy against top teams. So either the Eagles aren't a top team, as we thought, top team, I guess, or the Niners are really good. Yeah,
certainly the balance of the NFC changed, and be interested to see as we get down the stretch. But looks all for San Francisco now. Just need the favor from Dallas on Sunday. We'll see. That's the only game we're going to go into any real depth on. We're going to go and have a look at the rest of our football. We're going to start with our FourFold challenge because we covered the rest of the games in that. In fact, we covered all 13 games we're touched upon in our 16 picks. So a reminder, we had guest Matt Smith at Smithster99 from NFL Around the UK on the Let's Talk Sports Network as our guest this week. He was also close to going 4-0. 3-0-1. All so unlucky, and we'll get to that game. But Byron, you were 4-0 again, hit another FourFold, your third in 4 weeks. What's the secret at the minute? Like, are you just seeing the board really well? Like, what's going on?
I kind of wish I knew it. I'll be honest, the one I really struggled with this week was the underdog, and that felt like it was really comfortable up until the end of the game, certainly. Never really felt like it was in doubt. Chiefs never really, again, until near the end, got going. I don't know. I felt like there was some easier picks. I felt the Dolphins were an easy pick this week. I also love the Lions pick as well. I bet on the Lions just as a single. And again, you kind of get Tim Boyle as an opportunity to take the under against a not over-inspiring offense. Probably take it. Probably won't get any more opportunities because I think Tim Boyle's NFL career is finished.
Yes, released today by the Jets. I can't believe we're going to have a fourth Jets quarterback starting a game.
At least 4.
At least 4, maybe more.
Got a couple of weeks yet.
Just to shout out on the 4-4 challenge, and I'll break this down actually individually. I mean, mine's pretty easy in terms of units. Units for the year. So if you were to put £1 on for each 4-4. But if you were to go, look, we've been really good. This 4-4 challenge worked pretty well. I think to hit 9 in 13 weeks, I think it's real impressive.
Agree.
So obviously 9 in 30 weeks, it's 9 in 52, isn't it? I guess 13 for... Yeah. 950, I think, is real good success rate. So if you're following us, if every single week you'd put a $5 on every single one of the FourFolds, so all four FourFolds, it's not easy to say. Every single week, with us winning 9, you'd be 280 quid up.
Bloody hell. And in fact, that's banking in 9 wins. Matty, you would have got a 3-fold win this week with the push.
Yeah, you'd got pushes, with that as well. So. You'd be 280 quid up if you were betting $5 at a time on each FourFold. So well worth tracking us, because I think even still now, even if we didn't win another one the rest of the way, we'd still be profitable.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So we're 20 a week.
Yeah. We'd be profitable. So we're going to end up, which is really, it'd be nice if somebody else could join the party as well.
Naming no names.
I'm working on it. Let's run through. I really thought this week was going to be the week. Rolling through. I've said that for 13 weeks. Rolling through the rest of Rest of the games we'll cover off while talking through our FourFold picks. So I had the Lions as 4-point favourites against Philadelphia. At one point, looked this was going to be covered with ease, and the Lions were 21 points up after about 7 minutes. But let Philadelphia back into the game. This one finished 33-28, so they only just covered.
I normally wouldn't correct you, but you've got them Philadelphia twice there.
Oh, what am I talking about? The Saints?
Saints, New Orleans. The first time I thought, I'll let go, he knows who it is, and then
I've got the game, the stats of the game up huge. It says New Orleans Saints and huge letters. Let's start that again. I had the Lions as 4-point favourites going to New Orleans to play the Saints. Lions were, I think it was within 7 minutes, there were 3 touchdowns up against the Saints.
Yeah.
They just let the Saints back in. How much of a worry? Because the Saints don't have a particularly potent offense either. How worrying is the Lions defense at the moment that just leaves teams hanging around in games?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. And it just, like the Niners were saying there with the Eagles, and the Lions are not the Niners, but the Eagles are better than the Saints. The Niners went touchdown, went 6 touchdowns on 6 drives. The Lions don't seem to have that, from Dan Campbell. You expect it certainly of like, let's just keep fucking pounding them here. Let's grind them down into the dust and no stupid shit. And there was nothing really stupid here. Like, it wasn't Jared Goff had a clean game, no INTs this week, which had been an issue. But it is the Lions' defense is just, it's suspect. Derek Carr obviously had the pick, and then after that had a pretty good game, truthfully, for Derek Carr. It's been up and down. And I think it's one of them where it's ultimately going to cap the Lions' ceiling. If the Lions went up against the Niners, and that won't happen until late in the playoffs, probably looking at the record. I mean, what number would you put on the Niners? 6.5, 8.5?
Yeah. I'd 7, 8.5. Yeah,
and I'd probably still be taking the Niners, truthfully, in candlesticks. So I just think, again, the Lions are going to make the playoffs. It's going to be a great season for them. I do like what the scheming offensively, getting Jameson Williams involved on those end arounds is exactly what you need to be doing, because he's got that burst that few have in the league. I think Montgomery, not so much perfect, but kind of a great David Montgomery game. Got his workload in. I always want to see Jahmyr Gibbs get more than he got. I think he only had 8 or 9 carries this week, and he was effective enough on it. But I always want to see more from him. But while they're churning the wins out, I do kind of understand you don't want to overload him into the playoffs. Just a little bit of a heat check, but thankfully a heat check with a win.
Yeah, I'd be real worried for the Lions, because these last 3 weeks have been real bad for them.
Yeah,
escaped against the Bears, let the Packers come in and beat them on Thanksgiving, real poor performance, and then a game they should have won, 45-7. They've let it be a close game, and New Orleans had a chance. The Saints had a chance to win the game. They had the ball to win the game. The Saints, which is wild. Some positive. Sam Laporta looked brilliant again. He's had a few quieter weeks, but he had a big game here. Everyone else from a receiving perspective was quiet. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a real quiet game, only 2 receptions. Nobody else had more than a reception. Real quiet. And then on the ground, and it's not as if. And what I'd be real worried about the defensive view is in these other games against the Bears and the Packers, turnovers are what set them up.
Yeah.
Detroit didn't turn over the ball here, and yet New Orleans scored 28 points on them.
Yeah.
Real worrying.
This isn't the Drew Brees Saints. And what I know you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown there. He had 2 catches. The last one came with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. How is Amon-Ra not getting 13 targets?
It's an odd way. It's an odd strategy and an odd way to try and win a game. And I mean, on the flip side, again, Lions are going to get a home playoff game, which will be the first time they had a home playoff game, I think, since 1990. I think it might be 93. I can never remember. It was 93 the last playoff win, and 99 is the last time they held a home playoff game. I think that might be right. But I think it might be they'll get to play the 6th or 7th team. They'll probably play the 6th team, because they won't be the worst division. winner. They might be the third or second. Either way, they'll play 6th or 7th playoff team and wildcard team. And
but I mean, that could be the Packers.
Could be the Packers, yeah.
Who've just come into fourth field and comfortably. Like, I really hope that isn't how the season ends for Detroit, because if any fan base doesn't deserve it, it's probably Detroit's.
Yeah.
And after what's been like a real promising 2 years, they just missed it last year, the playoffs entirely, when it felt like they could have went on a run if they'd got in. And then this year, like, if it ends with a one and done playoff, I think Dan Campbell's certainly not under threat. That's not where I'm going with that. But it'd just be it would take the air so much out of the building, because then what's next year?
Yeah. Yeah, be a rough one. But they've got playoffs to finish off. They're going to get a home playoff game, and we'll see where it goes to them. On the flip side, New Orleans Saints, if they could have found a way to win this game, all of a sudden still 6-6. They're still not out. Again, we're going to say this every week. They are still not out of the race for this division. No, there's only Carolina that is. We've got the Falcons at 6-6, the Bucs at 5-7, the Saints at 5-7, and there's some games between them to go as well. They're still not. They're still not out. They could still win the division, and yeah. I know you said there was sort of Derek Carr had maybe a better game. Obviously, he went out. He took a huge hit.
Yeah.
Not the only person in this game to take a huge hit. We'll talk about that before we finish up. Do you make the change now and just go to Winston?
I would, but I would have a long time ago as well. I wouldn't have paid Derek Carr in the first place. So I don't know if I'm the best.
That far, but we can't go back that far.
I know, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know if I'm the best person to seem impartial on it, because it's kind of played out as kind of expected. Maybe Derek Carr's been a little worse than we thought he'd be, but it's such a low ceiling. He's not elevating his teammates. He never really has since, his broken leg season when he was in the MVP race. But that was a long time ago. And I think he's kind of like just a kind of definition of like mid, and you need an improvement. Jameis has he's probably he is more flawed than Derek Carr, but he also has a higher ceiling. Going down the stretch here, I'll take the ceiling. I don't think you're getting anywhere with Derek Carr's high floor, because they might squeak the division with Derek Carr, but I think the only way they're going out and winning a couple of games and looking impressive on offense is to bring Jameis in and let him sling the ball.
The alternative is, and one where I actually think he's probably a better option, and it won't happen, I'd play Taysom Hill and play triple option. It's ridiculous.
I don't think it's realistic, really. Yeah, like they could sprinkle in more of it, certainly, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I don't even know if the Saints have got I know they play Taysom Hill a lot, but it feels like the kind of, I don't know, it never feels like it's part of the game. Like, it just feels like, oh, he's Taysom Hill now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a good thing. It catches defenses off guard potentially, but it just doesn't feel very fluid, and it doesn't feel much thought out in New Orleans. I think that, it's easy to say, but I think there's probably a clear outcome in, probably for all three of the teams that don't win the division, maybe for all four teams coming up.
I think it's a false position, isn't it? For the team who wins, the team that wins this division, whether it's the Bucs, the Falcons, or the Saints, they are in a false position. They're going to host a playoff game, and and you look at it off that and go, well, that's been a successful season. Well, actually, no. And look, see what's happened to the New York Giants this year as warning, and there's been warning of other examples. Yeah, the Giants had a winning record last year. I think they were 9-8, weren't they? And won a playoff game, road playoff game. That was just because of kind of the state at the end where the NFC was.
Yeah.
And I think, it wasn't about how good they were as a team. And I think, the winner of the AFC South, I'm hoping whichever owner doesn't fall into that lull, because you're just delaying a reset. And I think it just needs, the Saints should trade everyone, get what you can for them, start again, because you've got this hole to get out of with the salary cap that we keep touching on, which I think is at $71 million. So you've got to clear that first. So, and this is a 3, 4, 5 year rebuild. You're not going to be able to do this in one season. And I think actually, if anything, winning the division just sets you back, because you think you've got something that you really haven't.
Yeah, I think that's been the Saints' problem for
been
I
in
want to say the best part of a decade.
They've been in purgatory.
Yeah.
And you can come back around the call they didn't get in the championship game. Was it the championship game? Yeah.
Yeah, the Rams.
But that was 5 years ago now. 6 years, 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And, you look at that team and you look at some of the names and think, oh, actually, yeah, maybe the Saints aren't that bad, even with the players that got injured. In Kamara, in when he can be asked, Michael Thomas, in Olave, in Jimmy Graham scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that was when they were, because Rashid Shaheed was out, Chris Olave obviously played, but earlier in the week when it looked like Olave might not make it because he was in the concussion protocol, they were saying Jimmy Graham is in the wide receiver room right now. So he would have been a great anytime TD, but I don't know what his odds were, but I should have looked into that. But once Olave was activated, I must be honest, it kind of went off my radar to think about it because I thought, well, that's Jimmy Graham. He won't be getting much action.
Yeah.
Correct.
Pick me a winner now. So just where we are now, not based on what you thought at the start of the season, pick me a winner who's going to win the NFC South.
I'll take the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many games between each other. I think the Saints play the Panthers, so they play Panthers, Giants, Bucks, and Falcons. They play the Falcons in Week 18. I think that's probably going to decide it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Imagine if that's the primetime game we get served up.
It could well be, depending on what else is live. Hopefully it's Jameis. Who do you think is going to win it?
I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They'd probably be my preference, I must be honest. But I mean, they've got the Jags coming up. They've got the Falcons this week. And then they finished Saints, Panthers.
So they beat the Saints earlier in the season. So if they can do that, if they can get the tiebreaker over the Saints. When did they beat the Saints? Remind me what week it was. It was week 4.
Yeah.
They beat it. So I think the problem with the Bucs, they've got a bit of a tougher run. So they play the Falcons this week. So that would be kind of a must-win, really, if you're talking about win the division. Because I think the Falcons beat them in week 7. They've got the Packers who were chasing the playoffs, Jaguars, and then they finish at home to the Saints and at Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, those last two are certainly winnable. Jags, I think, depends on who's quarterbacking for the Jaguars.
Yeah. But I mean, if the Buccaneers won all the 3 divisional games,
then 8 and 9.
8 and 9?
Not crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Bucs. Let's move on then. Byron, your favourite in your successful fourfold was the Miami Dolphins, who beat the ever-loving crap out of the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, never really in doubt, I don't think. Extra pick 6 from Andrew Van Ginkel. Tyreek Hill obviously went off 157 yards, a couple of touchdowns. A-Chain got going with a couple of touchdowns. It's kind of what I expected. I think it was 9.5 points. I can see it says 9.5 points. What am I saying? I think. And I don't know what number I would have felt uncomfortable at. But yeah, it ended up being a 30-point win. And I don't think we learned anything about either team, really. The Washington are in trouble. They're getting in contention for an early nice pick, though, at least.
They are, at 4 and 9 now. Kind of any hopes they had of kind of being in that wild card races have gone, haven't they?
Yeah.
The Dolphins, 9-3. It was just a performance we expected. We expect them to beat up on these kind of teams, and they did. Yeah, real. Just as simple and straightforward as that, really. So much so we got another Mike White appearance. What the New York Jets would do to have Mike White back now.
Yeah, geez Louise.
God, sorry.
Dolphins are now the number 1 seed. I don't know what the tie breaks are with the Ravens there, but they are listed as the number 1 seed right now. Obviously, a game upon the Jags and the Chiefs, tied with the Ravens on record.
Yeah, and I think looking at the Dolphins, their schedule starts to tighten up again, doesn't it? So they've got a bit of a gimme with the Titans. So we've got double Monday Night Football again this week. We've got Titans, Dolphins, Packers, Giants, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because we all love that.
Can't get enough.
So yeah, but then so they've got Titans and Jets, but then they finish Cowboys, Ravens, Bills.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that Ravens game could, after what happened last night to the Jags, which we'll get to, that could end up being the playoff, in essence, a playoff, week 17 playoff for the number 1 seed, which will be a cracker. That's in week 17 early. I'm fully expecting that to get flexed.
Yeah.
It needs to happen pretty soon though. It needs to have so many weeks notice. So yeah. But yeah, Cowboys should be a great game as well. But yeah, Dolphins. Yeah, so I think we'll see that. We had the criticism of the Dolphins earlier in the season. Those 3 games that they lost. Well, they've got an opportunity to kind of dispel that by winning a couple of these games. If they win all 3, I'm all in on them back at the Super Bowl. But I think if they can just show me if they can win 2 of those 3 games, then show me they can go do it, and they can go beat the Chiefs. They can go beat whoever else in the AFC.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we'll move on. Let's move on to Monday Night Football. Actually, what turned out to, I think with Burrow going down, this would have been a great game. It ended up being a great game unexpectedly, thanks to Jake Browning.
I'm as stunned as anybody, I think. We've had some bad quarterbacks this year, and I'll be honest, I thought that's where we're going. Jake Browning, he didn't shine against the Steelers. Was it the Steelers the week prior?
He played against the Steelers, but look, that's real tough defense to play against.
Of course it is, and it's his first start, But I struggle seeing like huge improvement coming from a guy who is unheralded. But absolutely fair play to him. He shut me up, proved me wrong.
This is wild. He went 32 of 37 for 354 yards and a touchdown.
He had the most passing yards on the week. The only problem they had was when they decided to let their wide receivers throw the ball.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? So Tyler Boyd threw Jamar Chase as well. Yeah,
Boyd was
very creative, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Just I get it when you're desperate. It didn't feel like they were though this week, but they won the game, so I'm not gonna. You can't harp on it too much. And I did love seeing Evan McPherson hit the game winner and not realize he'd hit it. He thought it had gone wide, so as he turned away, he's kind of cursing himself out. And then double takes, seeing the refs have their arms up, and he's like, okay, and just kind of walks off the field confused. Because it kind of looked like it pulled to his right. But yeah, obviously went in. Did see a fact after the game. Only 2 QBs in 2023 to throw 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and have a 85+% completion. Obviously, no surprise here, Jake Browning is one of them, and the other one is Joe Burrow. So whatever they're teaching them in Cincinnati is obviously working pretty well.
Yeah, heck of a game. 34-31 in overtime, bonus football as well. And just an incredible Monday night game. We've talked about kind of maybe how some of the primetime games have been duds. Well, I think we had 3 crackers this week.
Absolutely.
3 great games, and maybe it's starting to turn down out of the stretch. Hopefully it is. And all 3 hit overs as well. We talked about the lack of scoring in primetime games. And that was dispelled this week. There was points absolutely everywhere. The Bengals are at 500. Is it too much to say that Jake Browning can lead the Bengals into the playoffs?
No. Would I say it's likely? Probably not. But would I say it's unrealistic? Probably not either. Steelers have lost their quarterback. Browns are with Joe Flacco, who looked okay, but still Joe Flacco. The Texans are, I think, better than the Bengals. The Colts, question marks every week because you never know what you're going to get. Broncos, I think, question marks. I think the Bills, on balance, probably a better team, but I must say I don't have either team's record schedule up. But they can win games. They've just beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville.
I don't think they're going to win many more of this type of game. I think if they get involved in any more shootouts, they're not going to win. But it's they have to play the Colts, which would be huge. So the Colts have to go to Cincinnati next week. They've got then the Vikings, who
it's winnable.
Maybe that's the hype's calmed down on those, and they go to Pittsburgh, they go to Kansas, and they're at home to the Cleveland Browns to finish out the year.
I mean, that could be a huge one. That Browns game last week 18.
Again,
and we thought it would be going into the season. Deshaun Watson versus Joe Burrow. Now it's Jake Browning versus. Will it still be Joe Flacco by then? Trent Dilfer?
Yeah, I think so. I think
which former Ravens QB is coming out of retirement for this one?
But again, you think if they win 4 games, 4 out of those 5, which is a very tough ask. But if they win 4 out of those 5 games, they're in.
Yep.
And they've somehow gone 10-7, which would be wild.
Yep.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just that one bump you get from a new QB, backup quarterback or whatever. More worrying for the Jaguars because I think again, 8.5-point favorites as Joe picked them for this. You're fully expecting them to take care of business at home, and get to 9-3, and you
number 1 seed,
very, very much in the mix for the number 1 seed. I think that's out the window now.
Yep, definitely.
This was one you had to have because you've got the Ravens, and that was the only other one because you've got Brown, Bucks, Panthers, Titans. You win that one, you can, you'd probably maybe win out and go to 14-3, but you'd certainly be no worse than 13-4.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I think they might drop another one. Trevor Lawrence's ankle, obviously, I think he got to do with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And we saw CJ Beathard, who, by the way, did a great job in relief.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that was necessarily the reason why they lost the game. So if you've seen it's a high ankle sprain, Coach Peterson isn't ruling him out for this week, but they play the Browns. Would you leave Lawrence out a week, take a risk that take a risk on that game just to have him healthy, or do you think you kind of force him to play on a short week?
I don't want to sound like too safety first, but I wouldn't force him to play. Unless it's a Super Bowl, essentially. I don't think he's going to be fit to play. He had a knee injury earlier in the season, and he played through it was it a short week as well? I can't quite remember, but
I think it was the Thursday night game against the Saints that they had earlier.
It was, yes, you're bang right, yeah. If he's fit to go, you put him in, but I struggle to see that he's going to be fit to go with how he looked coming on. And for some reason, he had to walk 10 miles to find an MRI machine, it felt like. Every time the camera just cut to him and he's still hobbling. It's like, there's no cart here? Like, what? This is his home stadium as well. Like, very perplexing. They also lost Christian Kirk. It sounds like that's him done for the regular season at minimum. I think it's going to be about an 8-week recovery. And Christian Kirk's such a big part of that offense. You can do without Ridley, you can do without Zay Jones. Kirk is kind of the mop-up target guy. He can go downfield. He kind of does it all in Jacksonville. He's been a great signing, despite the initial consultation at his contract he got. And that kind of weighs into my thinking about rushing Lawrence back as well, because with no Kirk, rush Lawrence back and Lawrence gets really injured on that ankle, your season's it's not ending in the Super Bowl. Certainly.
Peterson is listening. Play Trevor Lawrence. Some of them have him as quarterback in our fantasy teams for the playoffs that starting this week.
But certainly not me. In either sense, there's more chance of me ending up with Trevor Lawrence and making the playoffs. Well, the playoffs have already been set. I'm playing for the toilet bowl, I think we call it. The Browns have gone out from 2-point underdogs and now 3-point underdogs. So maybe that's some kind of news on Lawrence. 3-point favorites. Sorry. So I think that's factoring in that Lawrence may not be playing. I'd be tempted to get on the Browns -3. I must say, I'm probably not going to bet it this early in the week, but I think the Browns defense can overcome more than the Jags defense can, as impressive as Josh Allen's been all season, and another impressive game last night. I think I'd lean to sitting Trevor Lawrence, certainly, is my long-winded answer there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, because I think you got more to play for, but all of a sudden that division is wide open now, especially if Lawrence misses more than one game, I think, as well.
Yep.
You've got Jags 8-4, Colts 7-5, Texans 7-5, and I think for the Jags, thankfully for them, they've already played both those teams twice.
Yeah.
And they do have a gentler run, but it's not a gentle run if you haven't got your quarterback.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be wild. I think it'd be great if the Jags end up as a wild card team now. That'd be nuts.
Yeah, and they haven't even missed Trevor Lawrence yet. So like this collapse hasn't been like.
But yeah, it's not been because he's been missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was 28-all at the point where he went out.
Yep.
And they scored on that drive. Scored a field goal on that drive.
Yeah, so you can't hang that as like, well, what the season would have been, like some teams.
It might have been they missed the field goal on that drive, actually.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, they missed the field goal on that drive. It was a 48-yarder that they missed, which is not CJ Beathard's fault.
No, unless he was in kicking, but I don't recall that.
No, yeah. And it was like 48 yards, so it's one reasonable one. But yeah, all of a sudden that's become a division that we've been saying has been sewn up for the last few weeks.
Yeah,
it's just become real interesting again. Let's move on to Matty. His favorite was the Los Angeles Chargers, and somehow this game pushed. This wasn't a Manchester City score or anything. It was 6-0 to the Los Angeles Chargers against New England Patriots in Foxborough. Anything you want to say about this one?
No, I don't think so. I'll be honest, I didn't spend much time watching it. Not that there was much to watch. Ugly game. I was kind of disappointed Malik Cunningham didn't get more play. And I think they asked Belichick about it. He said, well, the right players didn't come up, or we had it in mind, but the scheme never allowed it, or the game state never allowed it. It's like, well, what game state are you looking for here? To be down 30? And I have a good historical fact for you about New England. First team since 1938 Chicago Cardinals to allow 10 or less points in 3 straight games and lose all 3.
Yeah.
Good thing for them. They've certainly got a top 2 pick locked up.
I just don't even know what to say. If things weren't bad enough, they lost Ramondre Stevenson as well. He looks like he might be out for a while now. Ankle injury. Yeah.
I wouldn't be rushing back if I was Ramondre, I must say.
No, yeah, I wouldn't. Just a mess. I also equally think, and I think I might have posted this or something as well, I also think the Chargers shouldn't get a win for this. This should be a loss as well.
I give him the win, but fuck me.
This should be a loss.
Dreary.
I don't think there's any positives to take away from either of the two teams here.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, just real rancid.
Thankfully, we get to see the Patriots on TNF, so
let's talk about that later. Moving on, I have the Denver Broncos 3.5-point underdogs against the Texans, and they were in position to win the game. The Broncos got it down inside the 10-yard. I think it was inside the 10-yard line. They had 4 shots at it, and sadly, Russ was picked. A real close one, 22-17 to the Texans. Texans right back in the AFC South race, as we've just touched upon. A big one for the wild card as well, because of this potential tiebreaker for these two teams come the end of the year. Impressed with CJ Stroud again?
Yeah, good again, yeah. Again, can't go without mentioning the real sad note of the game as well, Jordan. That's me previewing my own winner and loser there. Spoiler alert on the winner, probably. Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Total bummer.
Why was
on
he
a play that
close to? He should not be nowhere near there.
Wide receivers who weigh 160 pounds don't succeed in the NFL. You have one that's finally hitting. It's kind of like, you've struck magic essentially. And he's in lead blocking on the goal line. I don't want to say because he doesn't, but you kind of get what you deserve to a degree. If you're that incompetent and that negligent with your player's safety, you don't really deserve to thank Dell. It sucks for him. He certainly doesn't deserve an injury in any way. I don't want that to come across that way, but I cannot understand the lack of care. How is he in that play call? How is he in that formation? When did they practice this? Bring a tight end on.
Made no sense. And a huge loss because he's been having such a good season. It was a great pickup out of. He went to University of Houston. He's had a great season there and real threat. And all of a sudden now it's all on Nico Collins and Noah Brown.
Yeah, and
Noah Brown's had his own injury problems and wasn't really involved in this game at all. I think he didn't have a catch and he had 2 targets.
Yeah, I mean, he barely practiced the entire week. And, Noah Brown's had splashes with CJ Stroud, but Noah Brown, I don't say we know what he is because he's had some real good weeks, but you don't want him to be a wide receiver 2. You want him to be a role player. And Nico Collins, I mean, shone out here, had a great, nearly 200 yards on the week. They can get by, but they'll get Dalton Schultz back next week, I believe, which is a big addition for them, obviously.
They're going to need him back, and he's going to need to be big for them, I think, down the stretch, because I think all of a sudden now defenses can do a lot to just take Nico Collins out of the game.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to double
and
bracket when you don't need to worry about Tank Dell game breaking, essentially, because he can touchdown in the play wherever you are on the field, and that is gone.
So, huge loss for Houston. I think what we saw as on the other side of the ball for Houston, I think we've been waiting for this game for a while, but Will Anderson finally had like a huge game.
Yeah.
He's undoubtedly the best defensive player in that draft. Arguably, you could say he's the best player in that draft in terms of, overall. You could say he's probably a better player than CJ Stroud. Very difficult to compare.
So they might have the best 2.
And look, and they paid the price. They paid the price to get them. But he had a huge game. He had 2 sacks on Russell Wilson. He broke another pass as well. He was just a menace in the backfield. And I think he's maybe it might be a bit unfair because I think he's had a lot of attention and he's not necessarily been able to kind of gain much momentum. But I think this might be the start of him being growing to be a bit of a game wrecker now.
Yeah, it looks like he had the tip for the one of Stingley interception as well.
Yeah.
And it's Stingley's missed some time through injury as well, and just seems to all be coming together on that side of the ball for them. And you still get Will Anderson at plus 400 for defensive rookie of the year. I'm not saying Jalen Carter has fell off at all, but he seems to be getting less attention. And I would certainly smash Will Anderson over Devin Witherspoon, who is plus 300 right now.
Yeah, I think probably Carter, because I probably was comfortable a few weeks ago because I'm on Jalen Carter. I can't remember what price it was. I think it might have been 8 to 1.
Yeah, 8-ish, I think.
Obviously, it's before a preseason bet. But he's just gone off the radar a little bit. So, I think he's going to need another game or 2 down the stretch to seal that. But I think I'm really looking forward to what he can do and what he can grow into in the NFL. But he had a fantastic game here, and Texans needed the defense in this one to be able to kind of close the door on the Broncos. We talked about in the previous weeks that Russell looked a lot better. It was a bit more of a struggle for him this week, I think. We had the three interceptions. So 1 at the end. I suppose that one doesn't really matter, but not of course it matters, but you know what I mean. Like,
it's not. It's inevitable. Well, it's not inevitable, but like there's a sense of inevitability to it. You're either going to score a touchdown or you're going to throw an interception.
But it feels like maybe the Broncos took a bit of a backward step here. They found it a little bit more difficult on offense and defensively. I don't think they got the obviously huge part of what they've been doing recently on defense is the turnovers. They weren't able to turn over Stroud or the Texans, and as a result, they really struggled to get anything going. Still in the race though, but this is a tough one for them because they say it's going to be a tiebreaker with the Texans. They're going to need to find a way to get a game ahead of them. Yeah,
it's a tough one, but I think if you told the Broncos after 5 weeks they're going to be 6-6, you'd take your hand off. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll be more than happy to be in this position, considering how things were. And a bit early to start looking ahead to next year. Is this a foundation for the Broncos to move on, or is this another one where they could kind of very much start the season next year like they did this one and have to try and get themselves out of the hole?
I really struggle, to be honest. I think defensively they're going to be much more solid next year, which is a great starting point. I think they're going to keep Russ. And they'll probably look to get out the year after when it's much more financially possible. It would have been doable after this year if it went to, no improvement. But I think he's shown enough. But I think Sean Payton will be planning for the future at quarterback as well. I don't think that'll be a first-round quarterback necessarily, but I wouldn't be stunned. But I think a second-round quarterback will certainly be in play.
I think you've gotten very early to talk draft. We've had the some say debacle of the college football playoffs committee this year, but also off the back of that, the Heisman Trophy announcement. Unsurprisingly, three of the four nominees are quarterbacks. I just think it's quite a deep draft for quarterbacks. I think you think there'll be some there in the second, potentially second round, or even in today 3 that you can get and could be really serviceable quarterbacks in the NFL. So be an interesting one if you're in the middle of that draft about maybe do we wait till later on? Because it looks like the Broncos will be in the middle of the draft unless they completely fall apart again. They're probably going to be somewhere around the 8-9 win mark, which will get you kind of middle or just past halfway in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, certainly I think Payton will want somebody to start working with, and even if they can sitting behind Russell Wilson for a year wouldn't necessarily be that'd be a pretty good education for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I mean, much worse places to learn.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's move on to Sunday night football then, Byron. So you took the Packers as an underdog +6, and also the over for this game, which you hit both, which helped you hit your fourfold. Chiefs Packers 27-19 to the Green Bay Packers. I love the Packers in this one.
Yeah.
+6. I love the under more though, because I was heavy on the under for my gambling this week, which is a shame. But yeah, Packers, I think I was guested on NFL Around the UK show and talked about I really liked the Packers to not just cover this, but win outright. And they did. Won by 8, pretty comfortable really in the end. This young Green Bay Packers team just seems to be getting better every single week, and they're making huge leaps every single week, to beat the champs on Sunday Night Football.
Really comfortably as well, like you kind of said there. Up until that last drive from the Chiefs, which was... Don't like to talk about the officials too much on this show, but that was a weird last drive in a lot of senses. I think the best team won overall, though, so, I can't say, it cost them, yada, yada, yada. It's just a weird last drive from the officials. But, yeah, Jordan Love, his short career, but he's playing the best football of his career last couple of weeks. From where he was the first 6 weeks of this year, his first year as a starter, he's looking like a top 15, top 10 quarterback in the league. He's really moving well. He moves well in the pocket. Like you say, it's all young pass catchers there. Aaron Jones is out, and they're not showing any signs of missing him. Patrick Taylor comes in. James Robinson comes in. Nice little throwback seeing James Robinson back there. AJ Dillon's looking kind of flexible and movable more than I anticipate him being a lot of the times. And, I mean, those receivers, Jaden Reed's looking like he's one of my favorite receivers to watch. He doesn't get enough volume as yet, but he's so slick. I love watching him play. Dontavian Wicks has kind of come out of nowhere last month and looks a real weapon. Christian Watson's having his second year, same as Romeo Dobbs. They're just all progressing at a real good rate. Tucker Kraft's their backup rookie tight end. Yeah. And again, looks a real weapon. There's a lot of, I don't know enough about college football, but a lot of people I respect, were higher on Tucker Kraft than Luke Musgrave going into the draft process because his athleticism shines. And, how Luke Musgrave's looked, that kind of looked a bit of a silly call midway through the season. But right now, there doesn't seem to be too much difference between them. And, Brian Gunderkunst has took a lot of stick for how he's handled the Aaron Rodgers stuff, for how in Jordan Love and drafting him and et cetera, et cetera. But, you look at it here in 2023 and the Jets would rip your hand off if they offered them Jordan Love for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think they're in a position where they've built this roster now, and this could be a team that competes. Well, they might find a way into the playoffs this year. I think if they could find a way, and arguably say with the momentum they've got, they should. But with they built this roster now to be real competitive for 10 years because they've got such youth. They're not carrying contracts. They're in a real good place, and it's if they just time it right of who they re-sign and when, they're in a real good position. Jordan Love's gone 300. Let me get this right. 3 games in a row with over 100 QB rating, which is fantastic. And 8 touchdowns to no interceptions. no turnovers really. I don't think it was a couple of fumbles in the Chargers game, but yeah, no interceptions. He's playing clean football, but there are, it's not. This isn't dink and dunk, and he's not taking any risks. They are pushing the ball down the field as well.
Yep.
So yeah, really, really impressive from all of those young players on that Green Bay Packers team. I want to particularly shout out. I'm rightly Jordan Love, but that defensive line has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really has been impressive. Rashawn Gary in particular, I think we shouted him out the other week, had another great game. Didn't show up necessarily in the stat line, but he was in the backfield. He was, causing plays to be off schedule, causing Mahomes to move about, which we know he's great at, but still, you don't want him sat there comfy. But just a real, real good performance from that Green Bay defense as well. And I'd be worried if we talked about earlier, if they went to Detroit in the playoffs, I can't see there's no reason why they couldn't beat them.
No, of course, they've just done it.
Just done it a couple of weeks ago. And
who do you pick them to lose against going forward? They've got the Giants on the road, Tampa at home, Panthers on the road, Vikings on the road, Bears at home. Who are they losing to there?
Yeah, I mean, I get carried away. For the win outs we're talking there, they get to 11 wins.
Yeah.
I think they'll drop at least one.
Yeah.
Tough though, and it might be. I'd say it's hard to see where, because then going into Lambeau this time of year is tough, but it's not a. This isn't a Green Bay team, an experienced Green Bay team that's used to all this. I think it's less of a factor. But yeah, maybe who did it? Yeah, who did it at least?
And yeah, I agree. They'll probably drop one. But I'd have them as favourite in every game, is kind of what I mean, rather than they're definitely going to win every game.
Yeah,
which is a real good position to be in at this stage of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you certainly, I think 9 wins will be enough to get you in the NFC. 10 wins certainly will do.
Yeah.
And yeah, before we start here 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, maybe when they got beat.
I think 6 weeks ago, I was saying Green Bay need to be looking for a new quarterback. I think I literally said that on this show, because Jordan Love looked like a duck out of water. Ducks are fine out of water. Fish out of water, on the other hand, much more concerning. He looked like a fish out of water throwing some ducks. And
what an analogy.
Absolute credit to him. And I love how much Green Bay seemed to have taken to him on Sunday night. He looked really moved and touched by it, and rightly so, because I'm sure it hasn't been an easy period when your draft pick has led to Aaron Rodgers leaving town, who, is beloved in Wisconsin. And yeah, huge primetime game and a huge win for him.
Yeah. I'm moving on to the Chiefs. Chiefs have dropped 2 of the last 3 now.
Yeah.
I mean, is it too early to say that the road to the AFC champion, the AFC Championship game won't be in Kansas for the first time in however many years? Is it premature, or
it looks likely?
Because what they can get to 13-4 at best.
Yeah, they're already a game behind Miami and Baltimore, and they just look limited. There doesn't seem to be the ceiling there that you expect from Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce offense, and the defense isn't falling flat, certainly, but it's kind of peaked.
It's being asked to do a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's being asked to do a lot of lifting. And that seems strange because, again, Pacheco had another great game on the ground. I feel bad saying this. Do you just have to readdress the balance a little bit and go, do we need to run Pacheco 25 times a game?
Possibly, yeah.
Mahomes' hands, because that's not what I'm getting at. But
you need to control the time of the possession more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just needs to be a bit more balanced.
I agree, yeah. And even get CEH more involved, because I think Pacheco's his violent running style doesn't lend itself to 25 carries a week.
Yeah.
But McKinnon missed this game. You can get McKinnon more involved. You get CEH more involved. These aren't super exciting players, but they don't need to be. Get 4 yards a carry. Just keep the ball churning downfield. Try and get maybe more trick plays, sweeps. Because Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney can't catch the ball, but they can run with it.
Run with it, yeah.
Yeah, just don't make them catch the fucking thing, and you might be fine. And yeah, Rashee Rice can only do so much. Then they need a heavy run game. They need Travis Kelce, I think, to never mind be the number 1 seed, but to have any kind of ideas of getting back to the Super Bowl, whether they're number 1 seed or not.
Yeah, I think real surprise. I think Kelsey went 4 for 81, but he was only targeted 5 times.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're going to need to start throwing 12, 14 targets at Kelsey. And you hope if you do that, you expect him to get 10 catches.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to need to start doing that. I feel they need to get him going a bit more as well.
Yeah.
And Mahomes just doesn't feel right to me as well at the minute. And that could all change. We've seen this before where we're going, oh, the Chiefs, and then they reel off 5 wins to finish the season, and then they're forcing the playoffs. But it's almost like you could feel that coming the other times. This doesn't feel like a Chiefs team that is capable of doing that at the minute. They need to find a different way to win.
Yeah, and the passing attack might come back in time this season, but for now you just need to, I think, control the clock more, grind out a little win here and there, and you can't get into shootouts with this passing attack. And that sounds, again, crazy with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but it is what it is.
It's not going to keep up, yeah. And they've got a real tough one now. I think this one is, I said, you're waiting for, they're going to win the division, but I think this is a must win. They've got the Bills at home next week.
Yeah, big one.
I think it's a big one. It's a big one for the Bills, but I think it's a big one for the Chiefs. They really need to show something.
Yeah.
The rest of the schedule is relatively easy. They've got the Patriots, Raiders, Bengals at home, which, again...
Yeah, you'd fancy them.
And then they finish in LA against the Chargers. They don't play a team with a winning record as it stands at the minute. The Bills are 500, Pats 2. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Pats have a winning record thanks to the clarity.
Reminisced of the Raiders and the Bengals and stuff. But yeah, they might be at the time though, because I think they're 500 at the minute, aren't they? But yeah. I just think, they really need to try and use these games to really try and find a groove. And see the Chiefs playing the wild card round of the playoffs. I think not as a wild card team, obviously, but first time in a long time that we'll see them in there.
Yeah.
Let's move on then. Titans Colts. Conscious of time. Titans Colts. This ended up being a really fun game. We got overtime in this one. Joe had the Titans as his underdog. Titans +1. Ended up being 31-28 to the Colts in overtime. Just what was a real fun game.
Yeah, it's the best word for it, really. It was a fun game. Gardner Minshew continues to squeak out games. Zach Moss didn't quite have the role we expected of him from how he was earlier in the season, I guess. But
he had the touches. He had 19 carries. Yeah, 51 yards. It was Pittman and Alec Pierce that seems to just came out of nowhere on Sunday.
Yeah, Alec Pierce I seem to see mentioned every week as he's ran the most yards without getting a catch, or the most yards per catch, whatever the phrasing of it is. Because he never seems to do anything, just seems to run deep every throw without going near the ball. But yeah, obviously the week we shoved Josh Downs in any kind of fantasy lineups, he goes back to 2 catches, and Alec Pierce goes back to 2 touchdowns. So perfect. Derrick Henry got his again this week, and looked like he had a concussion, went in concussion protocol, and now they're saying he doesn't have a concussion. He's absolutely fine for next week. So I'm not quite sure what's going on in Tennessee there, who the doctor is, but probably a doctor who has Derrick Henry on his fantasy team by the sound of it. So, this isn't any kind of takeaway from the game, but I was thinking yesterday, just looking at some of the award markets, and I still hate the comeback player of the year market because DeMar Hamlin's still the favorite at -200, and I think that's crazy at this point in the season because he's done nothing. Great story as it is, but he hasn't come back as a player. Factually, he just hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, because he played in one of the games, didn't he? But I don't know if his.
I think he's played in 2, but he's on special teams.
Yeah.
How about and this is 50-1, so can't say it's a banker. Gardner Minshew is in the playoff hunt, backup quarterback, being disrespected, disregarded.
I'm not having his comeback player. He was on the Eagles last year, right?
Geno Smith won the comeback player of the year last year, and he's never been out of the league.
Yeah, that makes sense, but he's also just not really played. Minshew's played games. Yeah, no.
Here and there.
Not for me. Sorry.
Geno Smith played more games in 2021 than Gardner Minshew did in 2022.
You could give me 250 to 1. I won't be interested.
You might not be, but I mean, your logic doesn't track. But I mean, he's probably not going to win it because it's 50-1. But if Geno can win it last year, Gardner Minshew can win it this year.
Yeah, no, not having it.
Who would you pick for comeback player of the year?
I don't know. I've not even seen the market. Let's have a look at the market. It's hard to think off the top of my head, really.
Yeah, I hate the market. That's why I was looking at it. Because I was like, who would I pick? Because I'm not picking DeMar Hamlin. Two is plus 250, who probably should win it in my mind because he came back from some brutal injuries.
Yeah,
and he's been one of the best.
I don't think there's an outstanding candidate for
there isn't
outside of DeMar Hamlin.
Which is why I like Gardner Minshew at 50-1. Because if he takes the Colts to the playoffs from being a career backup,
Von Miller's on this list.
Where's he going back to? Prison?
Is it plus 20,000 to 1? What's that? 200 to 1?
Oh, 20,000. I thought he said 2,000. Like, he cannot be shorter than Gardner Minshew. No, I'm not having it.
Plus 20,000 to 1. I assume that'll be because of the fact that he came back from his ACL injury, not coming back from beating up a pregnant woman.
Yeah, not one that normally celebrate. I mean, not never. It's the NFL.
Not one we should clip this part of the show.
Probably not, no. I mean, the Minshew part, sure, for when award season comes and he's minus 10,000. But
like on that list.
Yeah. Exactly. That's my point. I'm not saying he's a great comeback player of the year candidate historically. This year, who are you picking?
We talked about this. Like, if he managed to make it on the field at any point, it's DeMar Hamlin. Yeah,
I disagreed with it then. I still disagree with it now. But
fair. Right, back to the Colts, Titans. Couple of bits. Colts are well in that wild card race, and also now race for the division, which is wild considering what they've gone through. I will take Shane Steichen potentially being coach of the year, though.
If he was 50-1, I'd be all over it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but
I think it's more like 4-1. Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly. Yeah, I think what they've done.
Incredible job.
Not only in obviously him coming, new coach, for the first time head coach, coming into a team that's been bad. You've lost your rookie starting quarterback after week 4 and barely played because he's been injured. You've had that whole Jonathan Taylor situation to deal with. Now he's gone out again. I think they've done an incredible job. And they seem to do it a different way every week, but they're playing winning football at the minute.
And just to add to it, I know he was released, but like a team captain has fell off so much that they released Shaq Leonard. This guy has not been playing with a full deck and is getting, I don't know if there's a coach getting more out of less.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he's doing an incredible job. And is it going to be enough to take them to the playoffs? Yeah.
If he makes the playoffs, I think it's a disgrace if he doesn't get coach of the year. I know like DeMeco Ryans is sexy and it's all fun. They have the same record.
Yeah. And
DeMeco Ryans has got 2 top 3 picks.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think it's close between those two.
I think they are both absolutely worth celebrating, but if they both make the playoffs, I don't know how Shane Steichen, you wouldn't say has done a worse job. Like he lost his franchise rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's balled out. Will Anderson's balling out. Tank Dell's and credit to DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Slowick for coaching them and being great, but like I think they have a more loaded deck than Shane Steichen's had, certainly. I don't want to, and like Dan Campbell at 200, you can't say Dan Campbell's done a better job from last year to this year than DeMeco Ryans and Shane Steichen have done with what their teams were last year to what they are now.
I think that Dan Campbell when they got beat on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's still a favourite plus 200. I think that's kind of laughable.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing is, Colts' schedule as well is real soft.
Yeah.
Could this be the scenario in week 18? We talked about, the Jags should have been winning that division. Jags. Colts play the Texans in week 18. Could that be?
That's a good game.
Be for the division?
That'd be a good Sunday night football. I'll take that.
Could that be for the division if Trevor Lawrence misses time?
Definitely.
Yeah. Wow. In a great place. Just want to shout out as well, possibly the most heads-up play of the season from Will Levis, which I thought was incredible. So, whether it had been a fumble or not, so his arm was knocked where the ball was coming forward. He's seen the Colts recover it, and he's the first one on the scene. He runs 15 yards down the field, forces the fumble. I don't know if forces it, recovers the fumble.
Yeah.
And just an incredible play from Will Levis.
And you compare that to the historical ones like Cam Newton in the Super Bowl, Deontay Johnson last week. Like these players just like watching the ball on the ground, and Will Levis is like fucking hell, run through a brick wall. I am getting that ball.
There's also a bit where he rushed, bailed out, ran out the pocket, and ran for a first down where I thought he might have genuinely died.
Yeah.
He, in the air, turned sideways. I thought he was going to land on his head. It just looked bad news written all over it. But yeah, I think Tennessee have found something in Will Levis, and I think put that first game where it was a 4 touchdowns, throwing bomb to one side. I think he's actually looked pretty decent in what is actually a really poor team. I think we have to also remember that as well. It is a pretty poor team. Needs some help. It's not quite worked out with DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. I think it's probably good for them that they lost this game because I think they're going to need the earlier draft picks because there's a lot to do here in Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Let's move on then. We had Browns-Rams. This one ended up a comfortable win for the Rams, 36-19. They kind of pulled away late on, but we did see the return of Joe Flacco to the NFL, and you mentioned it earlier, it did actually look pretty good.
Yeah, it looked like the rest has done him well. I did like Sean McVay was asked why that he continued to run the score up, and he said it's because he's got Kyron Williams on his fantasy team. I'm sure that's a joke, but much better attitude to see than Arthur Smith snarling every time fantasy's even hinted at. I just thought that was real fun from Sean McVay.
But he did actually make it. I think he probably did reveal the real reason why. He said they had too much respect, or a lot of respect for their field goal blocking operation. I think it would have been a chip shot field goal. So I mean, if you're worried about that getting blocked, but yeah, if you had Kyron Williams in your fantasy team or your fantasy game day lineup, then all power to you. Flacco did look good. I think he had one moment where his head just kind of went into the interception.
Yeah,
which was just kind of like
it'd been such a smooth game, and then it's just like fuck it, I'm doing one thing that make people remember me.
Interception early in the third quarter, and I think they'd only just it was the first play of that drive as well. They'd only just got the ball back and took a deep shot that wasn't on. And was ultimately the bit that turned the tide in the Rams' favor. They went on to score 16 unanswered points at that point. So the game was 20-19 at the time after the Browns had missed the extra point to tie the game. Entertaining. I didn't see this one either. This is my under. I did not see there being 55 points in this game.
No, certainly not.
Which is wild. The Rams at 6-6 again. In that race, somebody's got to get the 6th and 7th seed in the NFC. They are well in the race at the minute. I think they are the 8th. They're the team outside looking in at the minute. Again, I think I might have said a few weeks ago. I think the Rams will get in.
Yeah, I think it's trust Matthew Stafford probably more than any quarterback. Him and Jordan Love, I guess, are the kind of standouts of that group. I think both can easily get in. Maybe not easily, but they'd be the two I'd pick now. Yeah,
I think they've got 2 tough games on the schedule. I mean, they're all tough games in the NFL, but they've got they're in Baltimore, so Baltimore will kill them as they do all NFC teams at home.
Yeah,
and they're away to the 49ers, who might have sewn up the number 1 seed by then. But if they can go 3-2, they've got the Commanders, Saints, and Giants in between those 2 difficult games. They're 9-8. 9-8 will get you in. Yeah. And the Browns, it's just all starting to come apart for the Browns, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and I still wouldn't rule them out of the AFC playoff race. I don't think they'll get it, but I wouldn't rule them out just because a couple of wins snuck in somewhere.
Yeah, they've already got
everyone's losing.
Board, yeah,
everyone's losing quarterbacks, so you're already 1 step ahead because you're on your 5th one already. Kind of one ahead. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to make it. Too much to do.
Too much to overcome, and I think although Flacco gave him a bit of a spark, I think that defense is slowing down, and he's been at points he's historically good defense. He's not going to end that way, but I think you're just gonna as the defense slows down, the offense is going to be required to pick up some of the slack, and I just don't think they're capable of doing it. Yeah. Tough games: Jaguars, Texans as well. Bears, Jets, Bengals are the other ones, but you're looking at you probably need to find a way to win 2 games. Can they do it? Who knows? Niners, Eagles, we've talked about. I hit the over with that. Chiefs, Packers, you hit the over. We've talked about that. Panthers, Bucks. We were saying, what the hell was Joe thinking picking this over? And it hit.
Yeah.
Just 21.
Yeah, surprising game. Was it 39 points it ended up as?
Yeah, 39. Not pretty at all. I think probably the most notable thing with this is Mike Evans getting to 1,000 yards again.
Absolutely.
10 years in a row, 10 seasons in a row, and he's only played in the league 10 years, so he extended the record of most 1,000-yard seasons to start a career. He's also now only behind Jerry Rice. He's tied with, I want to say it's Randy Moss for 1,000-yard seasons. Apologies if I'm wrong on that. But he's chasing Jerry. He's 4 behind Jerry Rice.
Yeah. To be 4 behind Jerry Rice in anything season-wise is absolutely incredible. Because Jerry Rice is far and away the GOAT receiver. What an incredible stat for Mike Evans that is, though.
Yeah, incredible. He's also just in the last few weeks had huge games. I saw a take on here to say there's no, I can't remember what it was. But it was someone quite reputable saying that no way should Mike Evans be a Hall of Famer. I think that's ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't have any counter to it other than, of course, he should be.
Yeah,
I mean, he even has a ring. It's not even like he's just been racking up these yards in meaningless Calvin Johnson style, who's an obvious Hall of Famer also. Like, I couldn't make an argument for why he shouldn't be. It seems a real easy shut case to me that he will be. I mean, I could well see him being a first ballot Hall of Fame, never mind a Hall of Famer.
I agree.
Case is clear.
Yeah, case is clear. And I think for me as well, there's a bit around, look, I know you've got, the years, the Brady years, but you've got what combination? I think the other is a combination of Jameis, Josh McCown, and Baker.
Yeah.
As the guy he's throwing
it's magic.
Yeah.
Here and there.
As well, yeah, probably in there as well. But yeah, just astonishing. And he's
I think most Hall of Fame wide receivers are going to have a better QB in there for more than 1 year.
About Calvin Johnson there, for the vast, he had Matthew Stafford for the vast majority of that run in Detroit. While Detroit weren't great, Matthew Stafford was. But it's just again another season, and I can't speak highly enough of Mike Evans. He's over 1,000 yards. He's got 10 touchdowns already with 5-6 games to go.
Yeah.
Truly, just absolutely amazing. And also he's on my fantasy football team, so that's great. You used to have him in the playoffs, I think.
So consistent. And he has upside.
But what he does as well is, and I think, again, I've spoken highly about, I think Baker's played really, really well. But Evans gives them a chance to win.
Yep.
And again, they've got games they can win. We talked about this earlier. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're my pick to win the division. Got a bit close. I took the Panthers plus 5.5. We'll get to that, and they covered. Don't know if we quite got we didn't quite see the interim head coach bump that we've seen for the other teams. Did Bryce Young play any better? Probably not. One person did benefit from it. I think Chuba Hubbard had a huge game.
Yeah, over 100 yards, and that Miles Sanders signing looks worse by the week, but that doesn't really matter now. The money's spent. But yeah, not much of a bounce, and I think the Bears can probably sit happy knowing they have the number 1 pick wrapped up. I think I don't have the Panthers schedule in front of me, but unless they're playing FSU or something, I don't think they're getting a win the rest of the year. So Bears should probably be pretty happy with that.
I was kind of saying, they'll get another win, but I thought this might have been the one, which last up to 5.5 at the time. I was like, maybe this will be the one. They do have some division games to play, so maybe they could, they've got the Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks to play again, so maybe they could win one.
They're probably not playing the Panthers, but yeah, I'll take your point.
Saints, Falcons. I'm having a bad day. Saints, Falcons, Bucks.
Yeah.
With the Packers and Jaguars in between, so maybe they can win one game. But yeah, if not, it'd be pretty disastrous to have traded up to the number 1 overall pick and then gone one.
It'd be the first time it's ever happened as well to trade the number 1 pick the year prior. Like, obviously, the number 1 pick ended up getting traded, but never the year before.
Yeah.
It's never ended up being the number 1 pick.
Not good for Carolina. Let's move on. We don't really need to talk about that anymore. Let's go to Thursday Night Football. So, Matty had the over in the Seahawks Cowboys game, and ended up being the Thursday Night Classic, really. It was probably one of the best Thursday night games, if not the best Thursday night game I can remember. I think the Cowboys needed a bit of a test at home because everything's been so easy for the Cowboys at home. We talked about, it's the 14th win in a row, but they kill teams at home. Usually they beat them 40-10, 40-13, and killed them. But Seattle came to play and played very, very well. It's arguably Geno's best game as the Seahawk. I think, obviously he lived to playoffs last year, but I think in terms of just watching him and in terms of throwing the ball, I thought he had a fantastic game.
Oh, he was brilliant, yeah. DK Metcalf, I think, for the most part, had Deron Bland's lunch as well. Yeah, it was incredibly impressive how the Seahawks put that up. And yeah, it's, like you say, it's a real good for Dallas to get a real strong performance against them and come out on the right side of it. Because that's, if they've had one weakness this year, that's been it. When teams have really pushed them, they haven't pushed back enough. But yeah, this was a real big win. I love Jake Ferguson's catch over Jamal Adams.
Yeah,
I just thought that was such big boy football, because it looked like a 50-50 ball really when it was coming in, and it was like, oh shit, this could be a pick six coming here. And Jake Ferguson, Jamal Adams didn't even put up any fight. He just big bodied him and just, I'm taking that. Thanks very much. Here's a touchdown. And I really like Jake Ferguson. I think he's really come on this year. But that was a player that really made me smile watching it.
Yeah, it was big for Dallas to kind of be to be down late, to be down in the fourth quarter at home. It was the first, when Seattle took the lead in that game in the second, just before halftime. I think it was. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
No, Seattle scored first, didn't they? Sorry.
Well, they scored the first touchdown, but they took the lead right before halftime again to go 21-20.
But when Seattle went 7-3 up, that was the first time the Dallas Cowboys had trailed at home all season long. And from that, Seattle going ahead again right before halftime, they led pretty much all the way to the middle of the fourth quarter or late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But needed it. And shout out Seattle's play well. I thought Geno played well. DK Metcalf obviously had a career year. They just went up land. There was me shouting out, stop throwing at him. Well, they just went at him. He still got his pick. Yeah. And I thought he bounced back pretty well because they were going after him time and time again. Slightly worried that might make other teams do that now, and he might be a little bit. Maybe you can't leave him as an island there. Maybe you just do need to rotate over some help for a little bit for short term. But yeah, defensively, I thought, I know the Cowboys scored 40 on him, but still defensively, I thought they did a pretty good job as well. They got to Dak, and I think there were 4 sacks on Prescott from that Seattle front.
Yep.
Did a good job of putting him under pressure for a lot of the evening. So yeah, maybe they're not as dead as I thought they were, but they're going to need to pick up. They're still going to need to pick up a win that we're not expecting them to. I think to get to 9 wins.
And I feel like I say a lot on this show of if there's a team that can do that, it is Seattle though, because you never quite know what's coming week to week with Seattle. Never mind season to season. They could beat the Niners one week and lose to the Cardinals the week after. I don't think there's many teams that I would say that about.
Yeah, and.
I do feel for them losing this game as well because, you play like that 9 out of 10 weeks and you win the game comfortably.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, they were going to Dallas and kind of ended up as not a buzzsaw in terms of results, but just that offense just didn't slow down.
Yeah, and I think look, they're going to need to win the last 3: Titans, Steelers, and Cardinals. I think, and that probably be enough to get in. But they've got Niners and Eagles next. If they could win one of those games, then maybe. But yeah, Titans, Steelers, Cardinals to get to 9 wins, which will get them in as a wild card team. So, yeah, maybe I hope it's not all lost for Seattle, but it's tough. They don't have any more room to maneuver. But yeah, Dallas, from a Dallas perspective, Prescott looked great again. Again, no matter if any quarterback's has played better over the last 6 weeks than 6 to 8 weeks than Dak Prescott. They got the running game going. Not necessarily huge for yards, but I think Tony Pollard's getting back to running how we're expecting him to see. CD had another huge game, 12 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Ferguson looked great. Brandon Cooks, I think he's going to be hugely important in the postseason if they're going to do anything. He looks like he's comfortable in the offense now, finally, taking a little bit longer. And yeah, the defense kind of bounced back a little bit. Parsons made the play to close the game out that was needed to.
Yep.
A very odd decision to leave him free, and it turned out that was what they meant to do. That was the actual call, the play call. Let Micah Parsons run free at Geno.
It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it worked out for them. Not well. Crazy. Yeah. And I did see, we mentioned him last week, become the show favorite. I guess Benjamin Solak done the breakdown of it. I don't know if you've seen it. And someone ran a similar play in college this season. I don't know the teams. Again, college isn't my bag, but and the key issue he highlighted on it was that basically the running back needs to get that clean burst out and be available for that screen immediately, essentially. And DJ Dallas, DeMarcus Lawrence got such a huge push in the middle that DJ Dallas collided with that on his way to try and get that clean break. So it was fucked immediately. But also, Mike Parsons runs a 4.3. That's not any D end. That's, I don't want to say the quickest in the league, but certainly one of the quickest in the league. DJ Dallas isn't stopping him. That's not Kenneth Walker. You can't, that's such a, I think, naive call when the D end is Micah Parsons and he's ready to eat your lunch.
Yeah, you got what you deserved, I think, by doing that. But yeah, I think Cowboys. Yeah, I'm still not there with Dallas in terms of can they. I'm not worried about whether they win the division or not. It's about I'm still thinking you're going to need to go on the road and win somewhere in the playoffs at Niners or at Philadelphia, and I still don't think they're there yet. They've got the chance to prove me wrong this week. So I took a lot out of the loss to the Eagles in Philadelphia. It's been a few weeks now. What have we learned? We've got Philadelphia at home, and I think I need to see them beat Philadelphia, not just win the game. I need to see them beat Philadelphia. If they do that, I'm all in on this team can do something. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like we've said that a lot. You know, until you go and beat a good team, the question's always going to be, can you go and beat a good team? So, yeah, fingers crossed we see it on Sunday.
Yeah, and there'll be more to the Cowboys schedule, but I think this is the one. Let's rattle through the rest then. We've got 2 more games to cover. So Falcons at Jets, you hit the under with that, and so did Matty. What was it, 13-8? Again, just a real ranting game, wasn't it? Ugly
game. Tim Boyle's NFL career hopefully over, no offense, Tim. But you shouldn't have been in there in the first place. I love Dan Hanzus from the Around the NFL's phrasing of it is like another graduate of the Aaron Rodgers Scholarship Academy. It's like... Yeah, that's all it is. It's Aaron Rodgers' mate, so he gets an NFL start. I don't know what else there is to say about this. Zach Wilson doesn't want to play for the Jets anymore, but he might be forced to, kicking and screaming on Sunday. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's wild. And just another odd thing, they chose to throw the ball 38 times in a one-score game.
Yeah.
You weren't chasing to be, what were they down at most in this game? 10-5?
Yeah, it's
10-2.
And actually, in one of my Guillotine fantasy leagues, I've dropped Breece Hall this week because obviously there's not many teams left, so everyone's got good teams, but like there's no upside.
Yeah.
And if I'm Breece Hall, if I'm the Jets, I'm not playing Breece Hall. Let Dalvin Cook go out and flog his legs for the last 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
I've Breece Hall fresh next year. Like, yeah, I don't want to say it's droppable in all fantasy formats, but if you're in a league that is, that kind of style where there's only 6 teams remaining and you need to be stacked, get rid of Breece Hall. He's not going to do anything for you.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm out of order by saying the Jets should win this game. The defense does another incredible job again.
Yeah.
Of you've just got to find a way to score 14 points.
Yeah, it's not out of hand to expect that.
Some idiot took the over because at 33 points somewhere, I was like, the Jets will run the ball more.
Yeah.
I think they'll be able to they'll be able to move the chains. Maybe Garrett Wilson will be able to make a couple of plays. Yeah. And the Falcons, who, I think they scored 25 against the Saints last week against a pretty good, a relatively good defense, pick 6 in that. But Robinson looked good. No, the Falcons, I'm awful. Falcons are awful.
Yeah, please, the Saints or the Bucs win that division.
So, for the benefit of the playoffs, just give us the Saints or the Bucs. So, at least the Saints are bad, but at least they're in fun games.
Yeah.
And the Bucs will be fun in the playoffs. Baker and Evans that we've talked about in the playoffs will be fun. No more to be said about that game. And let's finish off Cardinals at Pittsburgh. So that was Joe's under where he hit. I think after last week, I think all of us were on the Steelers, weren't we? In terms of and they just went backwards. And I don't think too much of that's down to Kenny Pickett injury either, because they were bad before he went out injured.
Yeah, they were just bad. Shout out Trey McBride, incredible performance from the second-year tight end, and he's really looking like one of the top 10 tight ends, I'd say, in the league right now. He's absolute smashing. Again, if you've got him in fantasy, you're probably pretty well set at the position. I have him in our league, and I'm 2-10, 2-11, I guess. Now I lost this week again, so maybe not the best example of you're set at the position. But if you're a competent fantasy manager, you're probably set at the position if you've got Trey McBride. Kyler Murray seems to love him. He throws to him when he's not open. And you don't see Kyler Murray do that with many players. So, do you know? Sorry.
Go on, sorry, after you.
Well, this is a great start. You'll love this one. The last time the Cardinals won in Pittsburgh.
I guess they only play every 8 years, right?
Thereabouts. I'll give you a clue. It was the St. Louis Cardinals.
I've no idea. Very long time ago.
It was, the number one film in the US on that day was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It was October 5, 1969.
Bloody hell.
And I do have another great fact from this game for you as well, if you'd like one.
Go for it, yeah.
This one's stolen from probably one of my favorite Twitter followers that I follow, Adam Harstad, who writes for Football Guys, I believe. Kyler Murray, 5'10", and an 8 to Rondale Moore, 5'7", is the shortest combined passing touchdown since, and you won't know these names, nor do I, Pard Pierce, 5'5", threw one to Dutch Sterneman, 5'8", of the 1920 Decatur Staleys.
The quarterback was 5'5".
Yeah. And people say Bryce Young can't make it.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that was a different. That was 19. That's literally over 100 years ago. He's probably a giant in his time.
Yeah, I guess so. Wild.
But that's one of my favorite stats I've ever seen. So
yeah, that's
shout
great.
out Adam Harstad for that one. But
thank you, Adam Harstad.
Incredible one.
Also, James Conner, a huge game going back to the Steelers.
Revenge game, I heard.
Revenge game, yeah. 25 carries, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, and he really meant it. Yeah, Cardinals get to 3-10. Doesn't do too much for them, but Steelers, where you thought they could get to 8-4 here. Yeah, it's all very tight in that AFC wildcard race. I was shouting on that. I was a guest on that NFL Around the UK show on Let's Start Sports going, Steelers get to 8-4 here. I think that Week 18 game against the Ravens is for the division. Well, not anymore because they didn't take care of business.
No.
Kenny Pickett's out for Thursday Night Football. We're going to get Mitch Trubisky against Bailey Zappi on Thursday Night Football. I don't think actually, the thing is, I don't think Mitch Trubisky is that much of a downgrade on Kenny Pickett because Kenny Pickett is not good.
Me neither. I just think Mitch is just wild. I never know what you're going to get from Mitch Trubisky, even at his best. It's always like, could it be shit? Could it be good? I mean, it's never going to be incredible. I think it's probably going to be a more fun game with Trubisky than it would with Pickett.
Probably, yeah. I think
whatever that counts for.
More willing to take risks, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was our FourFold challenge for the week. So I moved to 21. I'm dead last with 21 wins. Then the guests are on 28. Joe's on 30. He's been really kind of stuck for a bit. And Byron, 4-game lead at the top there, so a week ahead. Moving on to our ATS picks. We won't go through it. We've just talked through all the games, but I suppose just to highlight the differences where we were. So I was on Denver while Joe and Byron were on the Texans. Me and Byron were on the Colts, where Joe was on the Titans. I was on the Panthers that came in. Panthers plus 5.5 as lost by 3. While Byron and Joe were on the Bucks. I was on the Eagles. Like I said Wednesday, by the time we got to Sunday, I was all on the Niners, even better than Niners as well. So, yeah, that was just early in the week. Joe and Byron rightly on the Niners. Happy to lose that one. Me and Byron on the Packers. And then we all lost on the Jags.
Not bad week, that. What, 8-4? I went.
Yeah, Byron 8-4-1 with the Chargers push. Me 7-5-1 and Joe 6-6-1. Does mean in our ATS picks competition that Joe only has a 1-game lead now at the top, 103, 1-9 to Byron's 102. I'm kind of 7 games behind. I'm running out of time. I'm going to need a big week.
You're going to have to go YOLO and just pick all.
Yeah, well, it's hoping you guys have. It's more than I say. Me have a big week. You guys need to have terrible weeks, really.
Yeah.
I need to be making like 2 games up a week, basically.
And it's so hard.
It is, yeah, because we're all like these teams are what they are at this point. So.
Yeah, it's really hard to try and then when you get different with like Denver there, double banger.
Yeah, and that's what I thought, Denver, yeah. But yeah, anyway, we'll roll on with that next week. Moving on to our Fantasy Game Day review of the winning team. We'll do this first before the bets. Just a reminder, Fantasy Game Day, it's the NFL Daily Fantasy Game available in the UK. The Sunday Stars game isn't available every Sunday. It closes at 5:45, 15 minutes before the first game. Get your lineups in. If you're a first-time player, make sure you register using promo code COVER. Charlie, Oscar, Victor, Echo, Romeo, all in capital letters. By doing that, you get a 2-for-1 entry. So once you entered for the first time, you get a second one for now. So do it and increase your chances of winning. Again, the winners walked away with well over £100 this week. The prize pot was over £1,000. So make sure you do it. It's fun. We play every week, though we're not very good at it. We really need to resolve that.
Not yet.
Not yet, but certainly people are, and it's all over the fun. The app's great. The guys that run it, Gummy and Co, are great. So support them. And yeah, go get yourself a free play on us. Use promo code COVER when registering. Winner this week, Sapphire 5501, scored 221.38. Interestingly, didn't go for the Hill to a handcuff. They went for Hill as captain. Tyreek had a huge game, but didn't handcuff that with Tua. And I was real surprised to see that Sam Howell was the quarterback of the winning Fantasy Game Day team this week.
2 rushing touchdowns helps a ton. I'll tell you what, this is a nice looking lineup. Maybe not going into the week. I don't know how many of them would have picked necessarily, but Olave clearing late for the concussion. And Chuba Hubbard, I mean, that's got to be one of the picks of the week, right?
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns for 22.4 points. And the thing is, they even carried Zach Moss as well. So they didn't get more than 20 with the quarterback because they carried Zach Moss. We had Zach Moss in as well, but then hit everywhere else. Sam Laporta, I think, huge. I think probably Chuba Hubbard. And probably maybe Pittman as well, but Chuba Hubbard and Laporta. They had a huge game from Nico Collins, who got the 191 yards and the touchdown for 34 points. Pittman for 27.5. Olave for 16.9. And then Sam Laporta, I think, possibly the difference maker this week. But yeah, 221, real good score, I think, in what had been quite a tough week, really.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive stuff. Yeah, so register using promo code COVER. Last couple of bits from us, just a quick review of our bets. I went 4-4 for the week. On my bets on the sheet. I had the extra 9 as bet, but I didn't go on the sheet. So 4-4 for me. I'm still at 52%. What did I have? So I had the 9 Cowboys -9 that let me down on Thursday because Cowboys only won by whatever they won by 5, was it, or 6? 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, I had Falcons Jets over, Broncos +3 by the time I got it, and I had the under for Sunday Night Football, and I hit on the Lions, Dolphins, Rams, and Eagles Niners over. Byron, though, you had a fantastic week.
Yeah, so every week, obviously, post the weekly leaders, my 3 favorites are passing, rushing, receiving. This week, actually, I had 2 more. I had an extra rushing and an extra receiving. So my rushing one didn't come in. I went Devon Achane as my second rushing one. I also had Jalen Warren.
Right, by the way.
Didn't come in. But I had Michael Pittman as my main one, and then I thought I'm going to sprinkle a little on Nico Collins as well at plus 4,500. So that came in at 45-1, which was a real nice boost, obviously.
Yeah, huge. Well done.
I had Brock Purdy for the QB passing leader on Sunday at plus 1,100. Eagles give up so many passing yards. Just felt like a pretty easy call, that one. 2 was plus 300, and again, it really appealed, but it's just too short of a price. Obviously, I had the podcast FourFold that came in at plus 1288, I think it was. Had the Lions -4 that came in closer than it should have done. The Rams -4 or -3.5 again came in pretty comfortable. And then Bijan over receptions. I think it was over 17.5 receiving yards, not receptions. I think he ended up with about 35 again. I don't think that was a close one. And I had a little ladder on, again, Devon Achane, thinking he was going to have a big game. Went 70 plus, 80 plus, and 90 plus rushing yards. I mean, he got like 72, but you only need 1 to hit when you go with those big price ones. So a profit on that. But yeah, the big one was Nico Collins. And I think that's the 4th or 5th of the weekly leaders I've hit this year, which I'll be honest, I'm really proud of because it's a market that it always feels like it's tough to bet. And, you get a 45-1 winner. We've had Brees Hall at 20s. We had CJ Stroud at, I think, plus 16. Brock Purdy this week, plus 11. Maybe there was just 4. I thought there might have been a 5.
It's incredible.
Oh, we have Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams, when he came back last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that's 3 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, hugely profitable. And there's possibly not a hotter NFL better right now than Byron Chenko. So give him a follow. Yeah, and follow us because that's all his bets go on our posts.
Yeah, they all go there. Yeah. So apart from Nico Collins this week, I must say, I always feel bad about hyping the ones up that I didn't post because it's always tough as well because I don't want to ask Joe to do a second sheet, but I should just post them just on my own Twitter account, if nothing else, because I hate the people singing after they've won when they haven't posted it. But yeah, Nico Collins got to sing about that regardless.
Yeah, now well done, huge week. 12 plus 1228 plus 1100 plus 4500. Yeah, 4500.
Yeah.
So yeah, well done, huge week. Winners and losers for the week, and then we'll wrap up with a very quick look at Thursday night football. So I don't really want to talk about it. But yeah, winners and losers.
My winner, Jordan Love. Touched on him a lot already, but I'm just buzzing with how well it's going for him, and incredible Sunday night performance.
Yeah, I'm gonna take winners of just the Niners, really. Yeah, just going in and avenging that NFC Championship loss, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So yeah, Niners. I won't say happy for them, but they did us a favor. So yeah, well done. Shanahan and co did a great job. Your loser of the week.
It has to be right, Nick Sirianni.
Oh, I was gonna say it's Philadelphia fans, but yeah,
I mean you can take it. I was the security guy, the fans, Rocky. Your boys took one hell of a beating. So.
Yeah, I want to say Philadelphia fans have been very, very salty about only losing their second game of the season. So yeah. And nobody likes Philadelphia fans. Sorry if you're an Eagles fan, but nobody. I
don't think you've been listening to this podcast if you're an Eagles fan.
That's true, actually. Although we do offer a balanced view of all things NFL. Speaking of it, so let's take a look at Thursday night football very quickly because I know you need to go, Byron. Patriots Steelers are 6-point favourites. 6.
Yeah, I think I may well back the Patriots plus 6 in this one. I mean, the likelihood is it's a no bet kind of night.
Push. 6
could well be a push. I don't have much to say about it. Trubisky goes wild. Could be positive, could be a negative. Certainly not betting any kind of counting stats with like frying move over receptions or anything like that because I have no idea what I'm going to get from Mitch Trubisky on any given day. If the odds are kind, I might have a little play on Malik Cunningham anytime touchdown because I do think they're going to get him involved before the end of the season to see what they have. But he was really short this week against the Chargers, like plus 500 anytime. It's like, I'm not doing that. He was plus 900.
He's not even on the list here.
Yeah. So it is one of them. I think he normally gets added late when they confirm that he's going to be active.
Yeah.
That's what happened against the Chargers. And it was such a short price. I wasn't tempted by it. But if you get him plus 1,000 anytime TD.
Oh, I guess
I might have a little play.
I guess what you could take is any other. No, you can only do that first or last.
Yeah,
any other touchdown score. Yeah. Over under 30 at the minute,
and that's come down. It was I think 32.5 yesterday.
But I feel like if you back it, you'd have to back the under.
Yeah, if you're backing anything, it's the under, and that's why I'm tempted by the Patriots plus 6, just because. Yeah. When it's such a low under and you're getting plus 6 on either team, kind of feels like if I'm going to have a bet, I'll just hold my nose and bet on the one that's getting plus 6.
Yeah, it does make sense. I also like just no touchdown scorer plus 2,200. Just all field goals.
Oh, yeah, that's a bet. 22-1, no touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
With an over under 30, that's smash.
Yeah.
I don't care if it comes in or not. That's crying out to be bet on.
I suppose what you've got is the Steelers defense could score a touchdown.
Of course, a touchdown can come anywhere really, but like there didn't seem to be much coming. The Steelers just put 10 points against the Cardinals. The Patriots can't put points against anybody. Oh, this is going to be ugly. But yeah, I love that bet 22-1. I'll be betting that as well.
Yeah, I think I'll put on that. Right, that's it for our review for Week 13. It's been a pleasure as always. Make sure you join us for our Week 14 preview that will drop on Thursday. Give us a follow. Spotify continues with great teams cover. All the other social media channels at GTW_GTC. From us, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.